Hello everyone. Thank you for stopping by my YouTube channel, Get Crafty with Sally. My name is Sally Poole. I am a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Albany, Oregon. Welcome. Today I am going to show you how to make this fabulous card. It's called a triple Z fold. And you see all the Z's? And I am still playing with the Autumn Toile paper, which just came out in the new release. You can see that my pack is fairly chopped up. I have not used the pumpkins yet, so hopefully I'll have some of that left to play with. And I'm guessing I'll probably have to order a new pack. So this is kind of a different way to do the measurements. I thought this was the easiest. There's actually 3 layers you can see. I'm going to call that layer 1. This is layer 2. This little one is going to be layer 3. So I've got these cut out in very vanilla this time. I'm going to try some different colors. And then you'll need a scrap of soft suede. We'll see how that looks on here. That is for the circle that's behind the designer series paper circle. I cut that out with one of the Spotlight on Nature dies. That'll all be in the PDF. So there's those 3 layers, shows you where they're each scored at. And then I've got all of the little pieces of cardstock that we're going to put on there. And I thought maybe this would be an easier visual. I still will put all the measurements in a PDF. And we're just going to do one section at a time. We'll put layer 1 together, then layer 2, then layer 3, and then we'll attach all those to make one card. Hopefully that makes sense. Let's see. I am using dies from the Autumn Trees bundle, and this is, let me grab the stamp set. I'm also using Amber Autumn, this sentiment, blessed to have you in my life. These items are all part of a suite called Autumn Toile Suite. Both of these stamp sets and dies, the designer series paper. There is some kind of a weavy ribbon with holes in it. I don't have it, or I would show it to you. And there's also some adhesive backed dots called streaked dots, and I do have those, but I can't find them, so go figure. These items are all in the new holiday mini catalog on pages 40 and 41. So let's see where to start. I am going to scoot. Let's see, I'll scoot these out of the way. So there's our 3 layers, which I've actually got behind all of these pieces. And I guess I should. Let's look at layer 1. These are all 11 inches wide. This one is 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 2 3/4 and 5 1/2. I have folded it forward and scored it, and then folded this over and scored it for that Z. And then layer 2 is 3 inches by 11. I've scored it at 4 1/4 by 7 inches. So That one has been folded over and scored. This one gets folded over this way. So there's your second Z. And then the third little Z paper is 1.5 by 11, scored at 5.5 and 8.25. And then this one gets folded over, and then this long piece gets folded over to the front. And then you'll want to burnish all of these scores. So there is the third layer. And when you put them all together, and I suggest you do this before you start gluing all of your designer series paper on there, just, you know, hold them together, give it a fold, and see if they pretty much line up. The first time I cut one out, I made a mistake on the second layer, and it did not fit in this fold, and I was like, oh my goodness, what did I do wrong? So make sure that these all look like they'll fit on your A2 card before you start gluing all these designer series paper pieces on. Okay, so let me grab my chair. And of course, again, there's a dog underneath here. So let's scoot our, I've got stuff over here to the right. Let's scoot our, oh, I will mention, hopefully if you're a screenshot person, you got a screenshot of this before I moved everything. If not, as always, I do always make a PDF. There will be a link below this video in the description box where you can go look at that or print it out, do whatever you want with it. So let's scoot these off to the side. And like I said, I've got another card base here. I don't think we need to fold it again, or I would. So this is the one that I just folded. I'm going to kind of flatten it out a little bit. I'm going to take my first piece, which is 2.5 by 4 inches, and I'm going to get my Tombow glue, my green glue. We'll put some glue on the back, maybe. I don't think I have any of the fox paper left. I really liked it. I'm not sure that a lot of people do like it. I got some interesting comments about it. So this second piece is, let me see if I can remember what I even used. Just a second. Got so many papers out, I can't even tell. I can't find the paper that I used. I think it might be gray, granite gray. I can never remember which way that name goes. Anyway, that will be in the PDF. I'll make sure I get that in there. And I did emboss it with the Forever Plaid embossing folder, this giant one. So this is 2.5 by 4. I think I just bumped my camera stand. So let's get some glue on the back of this. And it's pretty bumpy, so I want to make sure I get close to the edges. but not too close that the glue squirts out. So let's lay that on our bottom layer. I'm not sure how this is going to look with this very vanilla paper in the back on the base. So the third piece is 4 inches by 5 1/4. So it could end up being a nay, we don't like it, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. Most of the time, I make the exact card ahead of time that I'm going to do on a video, but I think maybe only one other time I have winged it and tried some different colors. Okay, so there is the bottom layer. Now we'll grab the next little row of designer series papers. I'm going to get the one that I've already folded and burnished, and I guess I'll have to remind you at the end of the video too. You can see all of the different designer series papers that I used on this first sample card. I think it looks okay. A lot of people might think it's kind of busy, but since these colors are all kind of the same brownsy gray tonies, I think it's okay. So that's why I used the embossing folder on this card. I wanted to save some of the designer series paper, and I wanted it not to look quite as busy. So we'll see how that turns out. So we'll take our 2 3/4 by 4 inch piece, and this one's embossed. And if this is gray granite gray, which I believe it is, I don't think that it's one of the colors in the designer series paper, but I think that it goes with everything. You can let me know what you think. If I have horrible taste and I'm crazy. So our middle piece for this panel is 2 3/4 by 2 1/2. And when you're cutting these out, you want to be really careful to notice which way the pattern in your paper is going. I guess you could put it that way if you wanted. I mean, if you cut it out and weren't paying attention and it came out that way, it would be okay, but I kind of did all mine going up and down. So let's put some glue on the back of this piece. I have not used this Mossy Meadow pheasant piece yet either, and I'm not sure how much I have left of it. So now I've got another embossed piece, 2 3/4 by 3 3/4. It might even be easier, since there's all these little pieces, when you're cutting your pieces out, to just cut the first base layer of the card and the pieces that go on it, so you don't have a huge pile of pieces of designer series paper and wonder where they go. You can figure it out. It's not that hard. There are a couple that the sizes are kind of close, but not probably close enough where you would actually adhere it to the base piece. Okay, so there's our second one. And here's our third. wrap the one that's folded and burnished. So we'll take our 1 1/4 by 5 1/4 piece of designer series paper. And these designer series papers are all out of that autumn toile pack. I was looking for other early espresso designer series papers to use on this card, and I really couldn't find any old packs that I have. So that is a good lesson to me to buy the I'm not going to be able to think of what they're called, maybe neutrals, the pack of neutrals 6x6 paper pieces when they come out. There might have been something in there that have worked with this. And then this middle piece is 1 1/4 by 2 1/2. There's the pumpkins. So we're almost done gluing all of our designer series paper pieces down. And then the last one is also 1 1/4 by 2 1/2. And it's got the deer and the trees on the back of it. Okay, so that is all of the designer series paper except for the circle that we're going to add towards the end. So let's do this again. I'm going to take all of my layers, stack them up on top of each other, and then fold it over. So that is how it's going to look. And those are all folding fine. So let's take our bottom layer and then the middle layer, and I'm going to flip this over. Let's flip it this way. And you only want to put glue. I'm just going to put maybe an inch, 1.5 on the left-hand side. You certainly don't want to go past where your score line and fold is. So let's line this up with the bottom corner of our first layer, and then line this up. Make sure that this is all even down here with the layer behind it. Give that a press. You can flip this one over, put some glue on the back of it. And then we'll flip that one back over. Give it a press. Doesn't take this glue very long to set up. So now let's take our little skinny layer and we'll do the same thing. So here again, this piece is longer to the score line, so you don't want to put glue over here. So let's put a little bit of glue here, and then we'll match up this bottom corner again. And normally, I'm going to line this up. Normally when I put designer series paper on cardstock like this, I like to have another layer of solid cardstock behind the designer series paper that coordinates, but I think it would have just made this card way too thick and bulky, and it looks fine the way it is. So let's put some more glue on this end, flip it over, give it a press. So is this looking easier than you thought it might? Hopefully. So let's see if our mechanics work. Looks good. While I'm thinking about it, in this video, I'm not putting anything on the back of this. You certainly could put another panel on here, or 2 layered panels if you want, and another sentiment. You know, that's a good place for you to write your message to whoever you're sending it to. So now let's take our little sentiment. I've already stamped this in early espresso on very vanilla, and the sentiment again is from the Amber Autumn set. So let's, whoops, I always knock my little pumpkin over. My glue holder. I'm not sure I have knocked any of the other ones over before. So let's take our sentiment and we will place it down on this front lower panel. And I'm going to get it pretty close to the edge of this because that circle takes up quite a bit of room. So I've got my, and that the sentiment was from this scrap of vanilla. This circle is from the scrap of soft suede. And like I said, I'm not sure how this is going to look with the other colors, although I do kind of see it in the designer series paper, even though I don't believe it's listed as a color on the pack. So let's put some glue on our circle. And we'll adhere it to the Spotlight on Nature circle. It fits in there pretty good. There's just a little tiny bit of cardstock that shows. And then when you're placing this on the front here, you want to make sure, try to get it straight. You want to make sure you don't put glue right here because there's nothing under there. So I'm going to pinch my fingers right on there, flip it over and hold my fingers there, and then I'll put some glue on. And I am going to stand up while I adhere my circle. So you can either put it on when it's all folded up, or you can unfold it. I think it's easier if you unfold it. So I just want to set this a little bit over the corner of that. It depends how long you cut this out. And I will mention that, I'm trying to get everything straight. I will mention that I did cut the sentiment out with the rectangle stitched framelits, which are my favorites, and I used the second from the smallest in this grouping over here. And since that die is longer than the sentiment, I did the, you guys are going to get sick of hearing me say this, I did the cut the die on the left, and don't run it clear through. Don't cut the right side of it. Take your die off, lay it down on the right side, scoot it so it fits in the little grooves where you want to cut this end on the right, and then run the right side through your die cutter. But you don't want to run it through the whole way. And I know that's a terrible explanation if you've never seen it before and don't know what I'm talking about. I have a video, I believe it was 5 videos ago, and you can look it up and see how that is done. The video is called Maximize the Shapes You Can Cut with Your Stampin' Up! Dies. So, and it's a short video, and it just spotlights how you cut these out in different sizes. Okay, so now we've got that. Make sure that we didn't glue that down. Now I am going to grab, I think, my brush metal adhesive back dots, and we will put a few of these copper ones on here. I don't know why they look good with this paper, but I think they do. So let's put a big one up there, a small one down here, and a small one over here. Okay, so that is our card. Let me put my lid back on my glue because I always forget to do that, and then I get to doing the PDF and uploading and all that, and here the glue sits with the lid off until tomorrow. So that is the card on Very Vanilla. So what do you think of that one? It's kind of the same as this one. I did put the DSP papers in different places, and then of course I have the embossed pieces instead of totally designer series paper. Which one do you like best? The totally designer series paper or the one with the embossed pieces? So I also did one with, this one also has embossed pieces on it. I didn't cut the circle out from the designer series paper. I cut out, these are some of the dies in the Autumn Trees set. And see if I can get a hold of this. This little die is part of the set, so it cuts out these cute little mama and baby deer. And then there's also this little outline of the tree and then the inside that I did here. And I did have to use a little bit smaller circles to cut these out than I did on the other 2 cards. So that'll all be in the PDF. I did use, to cut my sentiment out, I used this largest flag die from the Stylish Shapes set. And then I did use, oh no, I don't have the packet for this, but I can't remember if they're called metallic sequins or not. But I ended up using these gray ones. The picture that I took earlier of this card, these kind of look white, but they are gray, and they match this paper pretty good. So anyway, that is my card today. I think it's a good one. Again, it is called I'm not going to remember now, Triple Z Fold. So I really appreciate you stopping by and spending some time with me. If you're getting anything out of my videos, please give me the thumbs up, hit the like button, share my video with your friends and families. If you have not yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, I would appreciate it if you would do so. It helps my channel grow. Again, I appreciate you all so much, and I will see you next time. Bye.